What is it for you? Fear of public speaking, asserting yourself, making decisions, intimacy, changing jobs, being alone, aging, driving, losing a loved one, or ending a relationship. If it's one of the above, or even all of the above, perhaps you could add a few more to the list. Never mind, join the world. Join the crowd. Fear seems to be an epidemic in our societies today. We fear beginnings and we fear endings. We fear changing and we fear staying stuck. We fear success and we fear failure. We fear living and we fear dying. Whatever the fear, I will give you the insight and tools to vastly improve your ability to handle any given situation. You will move from a place of pain, paralysis and depression, feeling that often accompanied by fear, to one of power, energy and excitement. You may be surprised and encouraged to learn that while inability to deal with fear may look and feel like a psychological problem, in most cases it isn't. I believe it is primarily an educational problem, and that by re-educating your mind, you can accept fear as simply a fact of life, rather than a barrier of success. This should be a relief to all of you. And there you have been wondering, what's wrong with me? My conviction that fear can be dealt with through re-education came about through my own experiences. When I was younger, I was always run by fear, so it wasn't surprising that for years I hung on to the many things in life that clearly wasn't working for me. But part of the problem was the non-stop little voice inside my head that kept telling me, you'd better not change your situation. There's nothing else out there for you. You'll never make it on your own. You know that little voice I'm talking about? The one that keeps reminding you, don't take a chance, you might make a mistake. Or, boy, will you be sorry? My fear never seemed to abate, and I didn't have the moment's peace. Even my decorative or doctorate in counseling, and my sister that's got a degree in psychology, didn't seem to help me much. Then one day as I was dressing for work, I reached the turning point. I happened to glance in the mirror and I saw all too of a familiar sight. My eyes were red and puffy from tears of self-pity, and suddenly rage welled up inside of me, and I began shouting at my reflection. Enough! 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 I shouted until I had no energy or voice left. When I stopped, I felt a strange and wonderful sense of relief and calm that I had never felt before. Without realizing it, at that time, I had gotten in touch with a very powerful part of myself that before that moment I had never known existed. I took another look in the mirror and smiled and nodded, and I said yes. The old familiar voice of doom and gloom was drowned out, at least temporarily, and a new voice had come to my fore, one that spoke of strength, love, and joy and all good things. At that moment, I knew I was not going to let fear get the best of me anymore. I would find a way to rid myself of any negativity that prevailed in my life. Thus, my odyssey begins. An ancient sage once said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The student was ready, and teachers appeared from all over the place. I began to read, attend workshops, and talk to as many people that would listen, diligently following every suggestion and lead. I unlearned the thinking that had been keeping me a prisoner on my own insecurities. I began to see the world as a less threatening and more joyous place. I started to see myself as someone who had purpose, and I experienced the meaning of love for the first time in my life. At this point, I began to notice many other people struggling with the same barriers I had finally learned to push through. The main barrier being fear. How could I help them? Realizing that the process that had transformed my life was educational in nature. I was convinced that the same techniques that I had used could be taught to anyone, regardless of their age or their sex or their background. I was able to teach my theory in the real world by teaching a course that I'll be doing again at the Mount in Oral in a new, and it will be called Basics to Mental Health Recovery. Whenever we take a chance and enter unfamiliar territory or put ourselves into the world in a new way, we experience fear. Very often, this fear keeps us from moving ahead with our lives. The trick is to feel the fear and to do it anyway. Together we will explore this barrier that keeps us from experiencing life the way we should do. I will be holding a course at the Mountain Oral called the Basics to Mental Health Recovery. If you are interested in joining this workshop, please register your name with me and I'll put it down on our register list. And you can get, if you have any questions regarding it, please give me a shout. And I look forward to it. I look forward to meeting you all. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.